There's an embarrassing problem out there that affects men, women, even some children, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Dirty bits. So if you don't already know, your blades and bits will accumulate pitch and resin over time. If you leave it there, it not only impacts the quality of the cut, but also causes tooling to heat up, which can actually do permanent damage. In fact, a lot of people think that their blades and bits are dull when really they just need a good cleaning. The problem? Cleaning sucks. It usually involves soaking in degreaser and scrubbing each individual blade and tooth. So like any typical maladjusted child of the 80s, I put it off far too long and end up doing even more harm by procrastinating. But what if I told you that there was a simple and inexpensive device that could do this work better than you can do and almost hands-free? Dramatic entrance. Here it is. This little gem right here is an ultrasonic cleaner. It's not new technology by any means. They're pretty common for cleaning jewelry, car parts, bike parts, but it never occurred to me until recently to use one in the shop. And luckily I found one that's incredibly budget friendly. In fact, this one was free for me because I stole it from my wife, Nicole. But for you, they're only $35 on Amazon. So let's test it out. All right, so I'm just gonna drop the bits into this little removable basket. It's nice and convenient. And the thing I'm a little bit concerned about with router bits, especially the ones that have a bearing, is what kind of damage this might do to the bearing. I honestly don't know. I don't think it's worth taking any kind of a risk. So I will remove the bearing if it's a top bearing that's removable. And you could just drop that guy in there. Now, if it's a situation where you have a bearing that isn't removable, you can see in this case, it's at the base of the bit, you can use something like this. This is just a foam insert I use to organize bits in my drawer. And you can just kind of dip it like this so that the liquid only contacts the cutter and not the bearing. So might have to get creative, but it should work. But otherwise, let's just get those bearings out of there just in case. Now for the degreaser, I'm going to be using Zepp's industrial purple stuff. You could find this in other brands that make the, I think Simple Green has a purple one. That is for industrial cleaning applications. And I did a little bit of the math. I think I'm pretty close for the dilution. I'm going to add about 100 mils to the basket here. And I'm sure you could vary this ratio of degreaser to water, depending on what you're doing. Once I have some more experience with it, I'm sure I might change it, see if I can get away with a lower dilution. And then I will add some delicious and nutritious Missouri well water, all the way up to the fill line, or at least till the bits are covered. This is heated, by the way. I just warmed up some of that water. Now normally we would pop on the lid, but I want you guys to see what's actually happening here, so I'm going to leave the lid off. That's a pretty simple mechanism. We just have a timer and an on-off button. Some of these do come with a heating element, and this way you don't have to actually add hot water, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's see how it goes. By now, you guys probably know that I really love cycling, and the funny thing is I originally wanted to get an ultrasonic cleaner to clean bike parts, but someone in one of our live meetings mentioned that you can clean router bits with these things, and I decided that was the priority, so we are using it in the shop now. But that's my very slick segue into telling you about our special sponsor today, Priority Bicycles. I recently participated in an event called the Peddlers Jamboree here in Missouri. It's a 2-day ride. It's basically just a rolling music festival. My bike of choice for this was the Priority Gemini. It's a drop bar gravel bike that's as capable on intense fitness rides as it is on bikepacking adventures. My two favorite features are the Pinion Smart Shift system for smooth wireless shifting and the Gates carbon belt drive, which replaces a traditional oiled chain. This bike is so low maintenance, it's crazy. So I rode this bad boy 35 miles each way along the picturesque Katy Trail. We met some people, ate some food, listened to some bands, and eventually arrived at our little tent city for the main concert and overnight stay. The next day, we hit a little bit of rain, but it wasn't too bad. Ultimately, if your bike looks like this after a ride, you're doing it right. Priority has a bike for every occasion. They've got you covered for everything from commuting to fitness to bikepacking to mountain biking. And they even have a nice selection of kids' bikes. So if you're looking to get moving on 2 wheels and you don't want the maintenance of a traditional bike, you gotta check out Priority Bicycles at prioritybicycles.com. All right, so while this thing chugs away and does my hard work for me, let's talk a little bit about the science behind why this works. All right, so you know something nerdy is about to go down when we're at the whiteboard. By the way, speaking of nerdy, I'm going to link to a video in the description that will give you even more detail on this process. That's way more than I'm going to be able to get into here. This is just kind of the Spag Notes version of it. So let's draw in our ultrasonic cleaner. Okay, this is our trough where we put all of our stuff. We got our liquid in there. And we have a transducer down at the bottom. Now this is the thing that's going to create that ultrasonic frequency. It's going to vibrate, and it's an ultrasonic frequency because we can't hear it. So that's usually 20 kilohertz and above. But most of these units, from what I've seen on the market, are usually like 40 to 45 kilohertz. Either way, we can't really hear it, but you will hear a buzz, you know, as this thing is vibrating. So what winds up happening is the transducer vibrates this cup. This cup transfers the vibrations to the liquid, and the liquid transfers the vibrations to the items that are in there. And what happens when, let's look at little sound waves here, when these sound waves are going up into the liquid, they're actually creating a differential in pressure and creating microscopic bubbles as they do it. We can't really even see them. Those microscopic bubbles, in fact, are from boiling, all right? And that's where I'm gonna tell you to go look at that other video to understand why that is. But those little bubbles are boiling, and as pressure, atmospheric pressure acts upon them, they implode. When they do that, they release energy. So when they're in contact with the grime and the gook that's on one of our router bits, it sort of just kind of pushes it off with the energy it releases, and that's how the grime just lets go. And it's almost magical, but it's science.
It's science.
All right, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's give these guys a rinse in the sink and see what we did. Now I'm gonna dry these off as good as I can with a paper towel. And then I'm actually gonna hit them with a blow dryer. You know, you can't be too careful. Water at this point is our enemy because these things don't really have any protection on them anymore. So we do not want them to get rusty. All right, so once I have all the water I can see, and I'll spend a little bit of time giving these the beauty treatment. All right, let's take a look and see how we did. Man, that's pretty darn good. I mean, considering 5 minutes and I didn't have to lift a finger in terms of scrubbing, pretty much any of the pitch and resin that was on there is gone. Now, admittedly, I didn't let my bits get too bad to begin with. They, you know, certainly can get a lot worse than what I had, but you know, it's what I had on hand, so it was the best I could do. But you could see certainly it did the job. So very impressive. So what about saw blades? Now you can certainly spend a lot more money and get a unit that's large enough to submerge an entire saw blade. In fact, here's some footage from a local saw blade company, W.D. Quinn, here in the St. Louis area, and this is how they clean the blades that they have in-house. So it's certainly something that's viable with the right equipment, but can we use this to do it? Actually, I think we can. So this is a blade from my CapEx. I actually have never cleaned this blade, so this will be a good test. I think the amount of time you submerge each section of the blade into the fluid is gonna be dependent on how much crud you have in there. So let's just see total elapsed time, how long this takes. Beep, 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 beep. All right, so we're at about 3.5 minutes now. And while it has done a great job, it is not perfect, but I'm also not leaving it in there very long because I don't feel like sitting here all day. So in a case like this, I might actually supplement this. While it's in there cleaning away, there's no reason I can't be just kind of brushing the teeth a little bit with an acid brush. I'm gonna go give this a rinse in the sink real quick. All right, so that is really not bad. Honestly, if I did this again, I mean, the whole thing took about 6 to 7 minutes, but that was doing it twice. I would just run it through a little bit at a time, give each section maybe 5 or 10 seconds, brush it with a little scrub brush like that, and you're good to go. The thing is, the outside surfaces, those are actually the easy part. The thing I'm really concerned about is the inside face of each tooth. That's something that has always been a pain in the butt. So I try to get a little scrub pad in there and I'm trying to clean that face off. And that is something that is just squeaky clean now. So I don't think I can even show this well on video. Here are a couple of pictures that kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So overall, even though that wasn't the most efficient way to do it, it was certainly better than the big bucket and scrub stuff that I used to do in the past. The mess is contained and the results are just better. Now, of course, after this process, there's nothing protecting that metal. So you're gonna wanna use whatever your favorite blade and bit lubricant is to protect the metal from corrosion and rust in the future. And I don't know, guys, this to me feels like a game changer. I know that's a term we throw around a lot, especially on YouTube. In this case, I kind of feel like it truly is. This is something that just makes this process so much easier, and it means that I'm not going to wait so long before the next time that I actually do this cleanup process. The more frequently you do it, the easier it's going to be, and the shorter of a duration you have to be in the gunk. And I also should mention, I don't think I want to leave this material in here. I'm going to probably wind up pouring this off into a secondary container and then hold it there until the next use. And that's the thing. You get this stuff by the gallon, we diluted it, and we can reuse this stuff. So this is going to go a long way. It'll last you a real long time. Well, I'm going to put links to all of this stuff in the description, and those links are affiliate links. So if you do make a purchase, it doesn't change the price for you, but it helps support us here at the Wood Whisperer, and we always appreciate that support. So thanks for watching. Happy bit and blade cleaning.